This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Now, with new episodes dropping weekly, I want to welcome you to the Remastered series, your chance to catch up on the journey so far. Here's one from the archives I think you'll enjoy.
Something I kind of went over very quickly in my last episode, which was how whenever you start a business and you start doing something, you're taking a risk. And one of the things you need to do is make sure you minimize the risk you take. Now, you have to take a risk because the more risk you take, the bigger the hope for investment. The return, I should say. Now, we got to take starting a business out of the realm of Las Vegas gambling and bring it into the realm of solid investment. Now, what I've seen is this movies and the cinema industry is a great place to look at risk and reward and the possibilities of doing things. Now, a lot of movies, every time you make a movie, it's a risk. You never know if people are going to like it or not. And some movies take a huge gamble and lose their shirt. For example, the movie King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, that costs $175 million to produce. Did not see any record on the marketing budget, but just the production was $175 million. And it only earned $15 million at the box office, landing it at the top of the box office bombs. Then, on the other hand, you have a movie like El Mariachi, which produced, the full production cost was only $7,000, $7,200, roughly around there. And then the marketing budget from another company came in and added on top of that for the marketing and post-production was $200,000. So the total cost to make the movie was around $207,000. Now, that's not a lot for a movie, and it earned $2 million at the box office. One of the biggest earnings for a single movie, total net profit. It's crazy. And then you have the Marvel, one of my favorite subjects to talk about, if you haven't realized that at this point, which is Avengers Endgame. They had a lot of expensive talent on the screen. Not just that, but the special effects and everything else. And with all of that thrown in together, they spent somewhere between $350 to $400 million or so to make it. And then they had somewhere north of $150 million to promote it and market it. Now, this proved to be well worth the investment because it took the box office world record total of $2.795 billion. Not to mention all the other records. It just absolutely smashed and devastated when it was first released. It was a massive success. And that's not even counting the home and streaming revenue that they've now gotten after they've released it. So here comes my main question, which is this. Did Marvel gamble that $350 million plus dollars, or was it a wise investment? Now, looking back now, of course it was a good investment. You can just look at the numbers. Yeah, it was. But did you know that at the time? I think they did at least have some idea that what they were doing was the smart thing to do. as I had written up before, they had already built up an amazing brand and a very strong fan base. And they took their time to build up to Endgame. It started 10 years ago with what was a gamble, Iron Man. Now, when they started up Iron Man, they didn't have any control of their major, most popular franchises, X-Men, Spider-Man, for example. Those were owned by someone else. And when they got the money to create Iron Man, they had to put up as collateral a large chunk of all their properties, all their big name superheroes to the bank. So if they failed, the bank would take over and be able to do whatever they wanted with those superhero properties. They bet the farm on it and they won big. Now, even then, when they took that gamble, it was a calculated risk. They could have lost everything, of course, but they also had ideas. We're going to do Iron Man, but then we're going to do Hulk and Thor and a couple of others. I can't remember the other ones that were in the pipeline. And we're going to try to do all these at once and have them all kind of connected together a little bit. They weren't trying to build a cinematic universe per se. They just wanted them to all be connected and make sense. So with all that in mind, they jumped and they made Iron Man and they took the risk. And then when they were successful, they continued to move on step by step to build up. Now, they didn't jump from nothing to spending $350 million on production. No. When they did Iron Man, they spent around $150 million on production, and it earned around $585 million. So it was a very, very big success for them. And at the time, as far as I can tell, $150 million was just out or just barely above the average cost of producing a movie at the time. So they weren't going crazy. They started with what they needed to, and they built up. And over the next 10 years, 11 years, and 22 movies, they added, built, had success, used the success to build up to the next success, to build up to the next success, etc. Now, even with all the success and even with all their good planning and putting things together and everything they've done right, there's always an element of risk, just like any investment. Matter of fact, here's a quote from Kevin Feige, the guy who was kind of steering this whole thing, and I think he's now the head of Marvel Studios. He said this: "You basically go, hold hands, and jump out of the plane and hope you can build a parachute before you hit the ground." Spoken like a true entrepreneur. Now, let's take this into us bootstrappers that don't have access to $150 million to start up a movie. We might be more of the El Mariachi type and have $7,000 to start up something. Now, should we do it? Of course. There's several takeaways from this, which I want to address. And the first one is take the risk. Jump. The reward is well worth the risk. Yeah, you might lose some stuff. It's hard work. It's rough. But the end goal is to have success well beyond working at a job on a set income, on a set salary, which is safer to have a set salary, but then you're kind of stuck there. You don't really do anything or go anywhere from that. And to quote Dave Ramsey, he says this: "Live like no one else so that later you can live like no one else." Now, I'll be talking about him in a future podcast, probably fairly soon. And he's talking about debt and money and finances, and how if you don't go crazy borrowing a whole bunch of money and getting all these fancy goodies and toys, and instead be debt free and save up and invest and be wise, which is not what most people do, eventually you will be able to go out and take those fancy vacations, buy those nice houses and cars that most people can't afford, because you waited. So live like no one else today so that later you can live like no one else. And it applies to business absolutely perfectly. If you live like no one else, if you take that risk, you jump out, the reward is you get to live like no one else because you're successful. That's how that works. Now, what other takeaways do we have? Well, again, as far as movie studios, they were pretty close to a bootstrapper. Now, most bootstrappers don't take out huge loans from the bank for 150 million, but the principle of starting small and slowly building up on your success is exactly what we bootstrappers do. This is how I've managed to bumble through starting up my own business and learning the hard way a lot of the lessons that I later found out were already in books and other teachings out there. So the resources out there, but I got excited. I jumped, tried to build a parachute on the way down, and I got lucky and I managed to do it. But part of that is my initial investment was so small, under $100, if I remember correctly, that I was able to go from success to success to success and use the money that I earned to reinvest in my business to build bigger, then earn more money, reinvest in the business, and earn more money, etc., and slowly but steadily grow. I didn't go out and try to find a business loan for $100,000 or $200,000 to set up because, again, I'll go into that later. I don't think that's the best way to finance a business. But instead of having to stress about paying back a huge, massive loan and not make a profit anytime for years, I stood a step at a time and didn't take that extra risk. Just step at a time, build, step at a time, build. So you have to be patient with it, but take a step at a time. That's another one. And then the last part is, even though Kevin Feige doesn't really mention it, they didn't just straight jump out of the plane. They, in his example even, you will need the ingredients for a parachute to build one on the way down. If you don't have the ingredients, then you'll just face plant into the earth at terminal velocity, and that will be that. No fun. So you have to take some steps and have some plan and be prepared in some manner before you make that jump, which again mitigates the risk and turns the risk from just taking a gamble into making an investment. And that's the big difference. A gamble is taking a huge amount of risk with no ways to mitigate it and hope you hit it big, blind luck. An investment is when you look at the risk, you minimize what risk you can, and you still take the risk, but it's a much higher rate of actual returning to you in some way, shape, or form, and or making you some money. So just some thoughts, and this is just a very basic introduction to risk management, because risk management is a massive thing. There's books on risk management. It's a big issue, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.
If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCpod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.